Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live stream for the Invocations. I can hear something dinging. I think it's on my end. Is it your end?
No,
Yeah.
it was mine.
Oh, was it? Kev's phone was just there, and I was like, did Kev's phone just dingling? I think we all have the same ringtone thing. So we're here to chat about the Invocations. This will be a spoiler chat, so if you haven't read or finished it yet, come back and watch us when you do. A few people messaged me to say that they're halfway through the book, so they're going to watch it at a later point. So if you're watching this in a few weeks' time, hi, and hi for people who are actually here now. I'm joined by two of my lovely friends who have established did meet each other in real life as well, Paula and Kirsty. We all met up at Yalk, which is very lovely. I just momentarily forgot because I was saying to them before, I can't remember what is real life interaction and what is virtual interaction these days. So do you two want to start by introducing yourselves? We'll pop to the chat because there's a few comments popping up and then we will jump straight in. So Kirsty, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So I'm Kirsty Stanley. I'm 45, live down in Dorset, and I book blog a bit. I'm not very good at keeping up together with it. And I write a bit, and I'm also not very good at keeping up together with that. But I came up with a new title for a new book today, which needs to not be a thing that I start writing because I need to finish the other one. But yeah, exciting.
This is what ideas do. They start stacking up, don't they? And I was at my most prolific ideas wise when I was on Mina and the Cult deadline. I just kept coming up with new stuff, and I was like, "Go away! I'm not normally an ideas person." And they just don't leave you alone when you need to concentrate on other stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Kirsty. I was trying to think, how long have we known each other? Because we were kind of chatting at the blogging phase, weren't we? So have we known each other since like probably 2016? Is that when I started my blog?
Possibly.
It's been a while. We're going to be coming up to some anniversary soon, I'm sure.
It's scary times, isn't it? Time just sort of zooms by.
When somebody said Shaun of the Dead has been out 20 years today, I was
Don't believe it. No.
I'm not. No. I refuse. If you ask me, I said like 8 or 10 years.
Was it Cruel Intentions was 25 the other week?
See, I still think the 90s was 10 years ago.
It definitely
was.
Exactly.
You a bookish friend, but just as got to say. If you want to introduce yourself and say, I've said a bit how we know.
So, Paula, I'm from Family and Books. I kind of suck at like filming and putting out videos at the minute, but you know, I'm going live every Monday for reading sprints. So if anybody ever wants to join to those, yeah. Pretty much it. And if you hear random squealing and happy noises or even unhappy noises in the background, I have a nearly 7-year-old. So that will be them.
Yeah, small child in this house too. And Kirsty has pets, so the animal noises and human noises could be coming from any camera today. But so this is an interesting book. I've had quite a few people DMing me about it, and some saying that they have found it slow to get into, so they haven't finished. Some haven't finished it, like they've DNF'd it, and then some have absolutely loved it more than anything they've read recently, which I always find fascinating when a book is so polarizing. So I'm going to jump to the comments and then we'll find out what the people on screen have to say. So Nina hasn't finished it, so I'm going to she's popped a few comments, so I'm going to try and bring them up at key moments. So after we've talked about our opinions, I'll bring up Nina's opinions so we can add to those. Hi Kay. Wow, that's impressive because it is quite a dense book. I think it's for me it wasn't a quick read. Hi Colette. Hi Stephen. Yes, I mean I think that in the bookish community we're all similar folk, aren't we? Mini humans, yes.
Mini humans.
Unpredictable folk. They're like the fake folk, aren't they? They're kind of whimsical and unpredictable.
And they've been thrown off by the clock change, so
I'm crossing our fingers that mine hasn't, which is unusual, but we had the busiest day. More chocolate than normal and more physical activity and stimulation than normal. So I'm wondering if this is like a sugar crash.
See, Wyatt, because Wyatt's autistic, but he wasn't interested in his egg at all. He didn't want to eat the chocolate. He just wanted to hold the egg and the shiny paper. He's just like, look what I've got. I'm like, okay. You do you, child.
One year we accidentally, we thought it was a good idea, made the mistake of buying our car-obsessed nephew a chocolate car for Easter, and he did not want to eat, and all he wanted to do was unwrap it and then brum the chocolate around the lounge.
Yep.
Nobody eat that car. Nobody eat it. Infested with anything.
Picking up all the dog hair as you go.
Num num num.
Yep, children. So the Invocations. I'm going to ask what you two thought of it, and then I'll let you know my thoughts. Kirsty, do you want to start us off? I can't remember. Do you ranked books? I can't. I think you do.
I do personally. I don't tend to when I blog.
Yeah,
but I do rank them for myself because it is very much a self-ranking. It's not necessarily gonna. Mine is going to be completely different to everybody else's, but I pretty much thought I was going to love this book just based on seeing the arc and stuff at Yauk. So when I knew that Evernight were doing it for Illumicrate, I had to subscribe because I wanted the pretty copy. This is the naked hardback, so it does have a dust jacket with the three main characters as well. And I also loved House of Hollow by her, so I love this. The writing is just so gorgeous, and it just feels really evocative, gothic, spooky. I really liked all the characters. I think Jude was probably my favourite because she's just funny. She's in it with the banter. So I was a big fan, but I thought I would be.
Yeah, interesting. I think Jude's interesting because she's kind of that character that you think is going to be really cool and together and the sort of leader of the group, but then she's also rotting at the same time, and like she's the one who's kind of in the worst state. And made ridiculous decisions for her parents' love, and I thought she's a really interesting, like, multifaceted character that feels like a real person to me. So yeah, she was definitely my favourite too. How about you, Paula? What did you think of the book?
See, well, I've just got the bug standard edition. And so I don't even have the sprayed edges. They're not pretty. Yeah, it's still good. But I was checking when I saw the edition of the Evermore one, and I was just like, oh my god! And I'm looking, and people are selling it for like £70, and I'm like, I don't love it that much. I mean, I really liked it, but it's just not £70 worth. That's insane. I did like it. I think it was such an interesting magic system. I think Jude is my favorite, but I think it was a little, I mean, I understand it now reading, like, having more of knowing the end of the book and how they got that, but I felt it was a little bit kind of an easy plot device for Jude to just throw money at any problem and it just be magically fixed, but it leads into the end of the story. So I was like, I forgive it. It's fine.
And also the fact that Emo's not bothered by the money.
That was a nice kind of flip. And for me, I think, so I started this book with like ceiling sky expectations because I loved House of Hollow. And I did really enjoy this. And I was like, I maybe love it, but there's just something that kept me slightly one step back from it when I was first reading. And I can't quite pin down what it was, but I read it quite slowly, which for me is normally a sign that I'm not massively gripped. Because if I'm gripped, I'm like picking up the second the TV goes on and Bluey's on, I'm like, read the book. And I wasn't doing that. So I don't know. And I still can't. I've chatted to a few people. And I can't still, because they've told me their reasons of like loving it or not loving it. And I can't pin down exactly what it was. But I absolutely loved the last quarter of the book. That really ratcheted everything up for me. I thought it was absolutely just bonkers is the only word. It's not very articulate, but I loved
accurate,
how wild it was. Yeah. And the fact that it couldn't have gone any more wrong, or, you're talking psychotic dead girl, but also hell beast combined into one body, and murderer, and whole family of everything. So I thought that was just, it really pulled everything together for me, and I did race through that last bit. So I don't really star rate books because I find it too elusive and hard to pin down, but if I did, I'd have gone from like a kind of good ranking to like really, really, really good at the end. And that really sold it for me. So I'm just going to jump to Nina's comments.
Yeah, I was going to say something somebody in the comments put about, obviously, because we had the 3 points of view, and sometimes that works really well and sometimes it doesn't for people. And I guess it depends. For me, because I liked all of them, I didn't mind whose head we were in. But if you have got a really strong favourite, then it can kind of make the story drag a little bit when you're not in there.
Yeah, it can, because you're just waiting to get to that person that you love, aren't they? Yes, it is heavy. I think that might be a thing as well. It was like definitely a mood book for me. And yeah, once the girls had met, it did change the dynamic a little bit. And if you're not into that dark stuff or as familiar with it, maybe that would be another thing that some people aren't keen on. Yeah, and the occult side of it was quite complex. But that's great that you're into it now. And I think Nina's not here now, so she's going to watch this later. But it's good to take stuff at your pace, isn't it? And, you know, take a while to engage with it. Don't force the read within the month. Yeah, I mean... Sorry.
I was just going to say the magic system stuff is just, it's what people have been asking for, I think, in terms of magic really comes with a cost in this one, and often it doesn't. So I think that's that's quite quite unique in some respects, because I know that's what people out there have been crying for. I've seen it written so many times over the last year and a bit that otherwise magic is too easy and it can solve everything. So
yeah, I like the fact that it was really concrete too, because I do struggle with things that I can't see it in a book, but sometimes the magic, it's just like poof, they do something with their hand and the magic comes out. I liked the fact that there was physical, skin being cut, objects being put inside, and words that all tied it together. I found that slightly hard. I still don't quite grasp the spell weaving and working thing, but I let my disbelief get suspended.
I was kind of annoyed that it, like, this is just a me thing, but kind of it being the magic system, spoilery chat is fine.
It's hard, isn't it, sometimes?
Yeah. It's like, do I say it? Do I not? But it being connected to demons, it's like, I get it, but it's just like, why is the occult always put with demons and dark stuff? And but that's just a personal thing for me. I get it. The magic system worked great. I think having like Kirsty said, having the thing where it's a case of there is a real cost to the magic, like, to yourself personally, not just like to the outcome of the magic or anything. So it's really good.
Yeah, I really liked as well the fact that Emma, like everybody else, I don't know how to pronounce Emma. I don't know how to pronounce her name. I'm just saying Emma.
Ema. Yeah,
Ema.
I listened to it on audio as well.
Oh, Ema. Okay, cool.
Ema.
Yeah, so Ema's demon, I really liked the fact that she had got a companion and that what was a curse and a weight for everybody else because of her the relationship she'd got with him. I loved that. And I was really rooting for that to end up how it did. Like, as I didn't want him to just murder her horribly the second that he could.
Yeah.
I really liked the fact that she had a greater purpose. And I love it when a book ends on a satisfying note, but also that you can imagine those characters. Like, I can see what all those characters go off to do. I assume it's going to be a standalone, but it might not be.
I think it is.
Is it not?
No, I think it is standalone.
Oh, you think it is? Sorry, I thought you were saying I don't think it is. I like the fact that it ended on a hopeful note and that it ended on real purpose for all three girls. So let's jump to the comments, and then I want to ask you about the multi-person narrator, like what you specifically thought. So this is the thing, like with this book, I think that's where I was by the end. It took me a while to get there. And I think that I like the fact that this book, like Crystal Sutherland, and it reminds me of Laura Stephen in that regard too, like asking some challenging questions and putting some challenging points forward about power imbalance between men and women.
I think it did really do the show the power imbalance, and like you do as a female, it's like I felt it like through the page, and it was not bashing of men, but it just kind of like definitely put that out on the page of the complete like difference between men and women and how men seem to just want to take away women's power in whatever
Although-
form.
Although I did like the comment about, men can't have magic because you can't trust a man to stand by his word with a deal with a demon. That did make me laugh.
Yeah.
That's kind of like some of that. I resonated less with me, but yeah, I see the kind of humor in it. But certainly the moments where it was a young woman walking on her own at night. I've had this conversation with Kev before, like trying to explain that I would walk down that street during the day and I wouldn't walk down it at night. And it was quite chilling to read that as a teenager. And I've had friends who've done stuff like walk home from town on their own after a night out. I'm like, I would just never.
Yeah, and it just doesn't occur to men to. It's like I don't think they ever like walk around and ever feel like unsafe.
And the interesting and scary thing is that bad things can happen to anyone. Sorry to bring the tone down, but they can. But it's interesting how it does seem to be more of a thing, and great for young women to read this and give them some food for thought, but also for it to be hopeful and not for it to kind of, just be like you need to be scared of walking out your front door, because that's not what it's about, is it? But I'm having edition regret as well. I did get the purple, so I'm somewhere between the two. I don't know where I've put it. Oh, I love those. If you think, is this the Kendara Blake one, Stephen? Because I absolutely love them. I can't wait.
I do love those.
It comes out
this month. April. Yeah, it's just after this. It's just after Mina and the Cult comes out. I think it's the Tuesday after, because the US publication dates are different, aren't they? I just really hope it arrives quickly because I'm impatient. Me too.
Yeah, I don't know between Ima and Zara. There were things I really liked about both of them, but yeah, definitely Jude. How about you two? Can you rank them in order? Kirsty, do you want to tell us your order?
I'd probably, I think I'd go Jude, then the other two equal. I couldn't necessarily break them apart. I like them for different reasons.
Yeah. How about you, Paula? Could you rank the three, or are you the same?
I think it would be the same as Kay. I think just because you've got the juxtaposition of like Ima knowing all the occult and stuff, and then Zara just needing that urge to learn it, but being green, basically. So, and Ima's like, well, this is just not gonna work. It's gonna be a bad time, and I've come the quote of like, I've not come this far. I've come this far to not come this far, the whole thing.
I loved that quote, actually.
So
I think all three, you could really tell what was driving them, because I think motivation of characters as a writer is something I'm always really conscious of, and it tends to come really late with some characters. I'm like, come on, I know what you're doing, but tell me why you're doing it. And I felt I really knew why they were all doing what they were doing, and they had really strong motivations and really distinct ones. We talked a little bit about the multi-person narrator. Maybe that's a good thing to lead into that with. I thought they were really distinct. I did very early on, Ima and Zara. I don't know whether it's a similar like the Zara, Ima. I don't know. I got them very slightly confused at some points, because they both had bad home lives and had kind of murky stuff to do with families, and I slightly entangled them in my mind. But mostly I found them really distinct. What did you think, Paula? Did you find that it worked for you in that case?
No, I found them very distinctive. It was just, well, to be fair, at the beginning I was just like, okay, so Ima's just a straight up kleptomaniac, fine. And just also the switch for Zara with the whole, like, she was so focused on school, and school was so important, and she's like she's gone from being so school focused and wanting to learn all the things to get her on in life in an academic setting to, well, no, my focus has completely shifted to, I need to, like, make my sister alive again, and now that is my main focus. And even the school being like, okay, well, you've stolen these books, and you're not really doing well in class. I was like, well, that doesn't feel like a real school, to be fair.
Well, no, 'cause she gave her the stolen books.
Yeah, I was just like, that doesn't seem like a headmaster thing to do.
That's not teaching a lesson, is it?
But,
Stealing
okay.
books is a bit of a thing. I used to buy a lot of my books in my classrooms because there were never enough, on a slight side note, and they did disappear quite a lot. And because I'd bought them, I was kind of like, I'm putting these out so that children will love them and want them. So I kind of feel like, well, if they disappeared, I've sort of done my job, although I need to do the stealing lesson as well as the loving books lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Ian was interesting when we first met her. I was like, where does she fit in? Like, this girl who just steals stuff and gets to live in other people's like halls of residence. That's weird. But it like really made sense to me.
But what a place to disappear, though, because there's just it makes so much sense.
It's really clever.
Yeah.
Crystal Sutherland, I can imagine her sitting there thinking, like, where could somebody just like have a fully kind of not functioning life in terms of being enriched and having relationships, but how could you just live and fly under the radar?
Fed and washed and exercise.
And be invisible. Yeah.
I love the fact that she was fit too, and that like she really kind of honed her body, and that was important. It felt like a really believable character trait for her. Like I was sort of reading it thinking, I don't think I've read like a kind of muscular female character who loves working out in a book, and that isn't me, clearly. Look at the spaghetti noodle prawns thing.
But it's like she says it later on. It's like, you know, when you're fighting someone with magic, or like, you know, they never expect you to come back with a physical attack rather than a magic attack, and it's like that made so much sense.
Yeah, absolutely loved it. It was just another layer. I think the characterization for me, and like Kirsty said, the beautiful writing was just so good in this book. What did you think of the multiple narrators, Kirsty? Did you?
Yeah, I think, like I said before, I think it worked for me enough because I liked all the characters. So I wasn't kind of like itching to get back to somebody's point of view, and also it was they were still all on the same journey together. So we weren't sort of being taken away completely from the trio and how they were working together.
Yeah, I like a multi-person narrator that starts separate and then converges, even if like one of them stays separate for a bit longer, or I like it when they kind of all come together. I think that it did that really well too.
It did confuse me though, because it was like two were in London, and then I was suddenly like, is Oxford University in London? I'm sure it was in Oxford. And I just got really confused for a few minutes. And then I was like, no, of course it's in Oxford. What are you talking about? So yeah.
I just let that flow over me because I'm not very good at geography. I'm just like, yeah, it's all right. They'll all come together in the end. It's fine.
Yeah, like the flying to Ireland as well. I don't think I was skip reading, but I was reading quite fast, and I kind of missed that they were on a plane. And I was like, hang on, what? How have they got to Ireland? Like, where did they come?
Private jet, baby. Private jet.
Well, if you zone out for a few chapters in YA, you can miss some really crucial information, can't you? Because everything is so concise and packed together.
Yeah. Oh, I know something I think you probably loved in there was the reference to Madame Bathory.
Oh, yes, I did appreciate one of my favourite historical, like, gruesome masterpieces being pulled in there. Yeah, that was good. I like it when people try to explain the reasons the historical figures did what they did, and it fits into the world. I thought that was really clever too. I should have mentioned that. Kirsty beat me to it.
I did like it when they were like, you know, why does that name sound familiar?
Yeah, I know. And I was like, I know, let me tell you. I named one of my characters after her, so totally get that. Let's jump. Pace led us nicely into one of the other things that I wanted to know about. Because I'd not, weirdly, in this book, I'd not spent much time trying to think about who the killer was. In some books, it's all I'm obsessed with. But I think for these girls, I was more interested. The killing, important, but felt peripheral to the individual thing that they were going through. So I wasn't trying to figure it out. And then I was chatting to my friend Rosie the other day, and she just casually said, something like, I can't remember what she said about the killer, but she was like, something, the killer. And I was like, hang on, the killer? I've not been thinking about them. And because Rosie had mentioned it, and it was something I think that she'd been interested in, like that was a bit that caught her attention in the book. I then tried to work out who it was. So from that point, I did get it, but I hadn't been thinking about it until like 3/4 of the way through. So did you, Paula, I think you know, there were a few twisty twists. Did they get you, or did you guess any of them?
Well, for me, I can't help it. It's the like ADHD brain of like, you know, it has to, once it's like on that thing of like, who is it? I did get it, and there was like certain plot points that I did get, but they were like a chapter or two before they were revealed. It wasn't like, you know, one thing I called out like straight at the beginning of the book, but the others were like just a few chapters in front of it. So I was just like, okay, so it did not keep me guessing, but you know, it did, you know, keep me engaged and not just like, okay, this is happening.
Yeah.
And then just be like, yeah, called it.
Yeah, I liked the fact that there were enough suspects, I think, a lot of the time. They started to fall away a little bit as people kind of showed the true colours. Like, I wasn't sure the detectives' involvement at one point. I was like, detectives are quite a good suspect.
I thought that whole thing was sus as well, just like, you know, a random police officer just being like, okay, well, yeah, come look at this crime scene. Like, okay, because that's what police do. I mean, you know.
In the end, she sort of revealed that she had a reason, didn't she? But yeah.
And she needed the money, yeah. So
I did wonder, was he called Eli? That, you know, the actual person who was responsible in the end.
Elijah.
Elijah. He was so super nice, and he was the only nice one, and he was really nice. I've noticed this, and it's a YA book thing, and I'm always really careful of it. I watch myself for this one. If somebody's super nice, are they the killer? And if that was the reason I wondered about him. So if I've ever got super nice characters, I'm always like, I try and just think.
I was like, it's too obvious to be the dad.
Yeah, I did. I kept coming to and fro with the dad quite a bit. I liked how it kind of explained his behaviour a little bit. I thought that was good. How about you, Kirsty? Did the twists get you or not?
Yeah, they did a bit more. I think I was a bit more like you in terms of focusing on the girls' motivations of trying to get the sister back and trying to get rid of the demon. That I kind of almost forgot about that, or I was thinking about the motive more than who did it. So when they thought it was the witch with the flicker power, I immediately went, oh, well, they're stealing the witch's powers, and it's a man because they can't have magic, and that's kind of about as far as I got until near the end, which is unusual for me. But I was just sucked into the girl stories more, so less.
I think it was I think it was kind of written more that way, that, like, you know, I mean, obviously it's through female perspectives, but I think it was more of a case of the way it was written, you were like wanting to learn about them more and, like, you know, focusing on their journey instead of like what is like, you know, this killer that's like going around and, like, you know, bumping off all of Emma's you know,
clients,
other witch people.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, isn't it? Like that Jack the Ripper book that I still haven't read, that's about the women as opposed to being about Jack the Ripper. I need to. It is on my physical TBR room. But yeah, I like the fact that it wasn't about him. Like, some serial killer stuff is very focused, almost the point of, like, you know, making this like a cool, mysterious figure. It wasn't about him. It was about them. So I think, I like you said, I think.
Yeah, I think I even would have been satisfied if we'd never have completely found out who was doing that, almost. Just because, you know, it could have been like and obviously Jack the Ripper was mentioned a few times as well. It could have been this enigmatic mass murderer that we never find. So I would have been satisfied with that potentially as an ending as well. So
I wouldn't have been.
Yeah, I don't know. I think as long as the girls had got their arc, that would have been the thing I would let go. Right? Yeah, if one of the girls had been unsatisfying, I think I would have been more upset about that than
even in my notes, when Savannah is come back and she kind of like just like decimates all the people that were like in the room, I was just like, well, that was just too quickly. I was like, I want the bad people to pay, damn it. And then it happened a bit later on. I was like, it's okay. Good.
I did wonder about that when I was reading it. I was like, oh, it glossed over that a little bit. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, well, maybe we'll get a bit of the gore we required. Let's jump through a couple of comments. Oh, thank you. Sorry if we've missed you. I'm waving to your book, Hermit, if we're muted.
Cheers, Laura.
Saving here. Yeah, I think that's the great thing of a multi-person narrator. I think the ones that I don't like are the ones where I can't figure out what one of the narrators is doing there. Like if they don't move the story forward, but all of you couldn't pull one of them out and the story still makes sense. That's the thing.
No.
I'm not sure exactly what Kay's agreeing with you on, but clearly
we're probably the satisfaction.
Yeah, we need the bad people to pay.
I mean, normally that, and actually thinking about it, it probably wouldn't have suited the story very well in terms of women taking back their power if we hadn't found and punished the person. But yeah, I was just less interested in that part, weirdly. So,
yeah, Sharon.
Shows it's a good book, doesn't it? If they're less interested in the murder than the character. So Sharon loved the murder, like Sharon.
Yeah.
We've just summoned you, Sharon, talking about the body horror there.
Sharon's like, kill them all.
Maybe since Sharon's here, it's a good time to talk about the horror. That's lovely that you thought Ema was your favourite, Sharon. We were all praising Jude, so it's nice that we've got somebody team Ema. And an extra little hello for Sharon. So let's talk about the horror, because when it comes to body horror, I'm quite hard to gross out. Like, I'm kind of okay with it, but there are a lot of fluids and a lot of things leaking and stuff. And I was like, this is really
basements of pus.
Yeah, I really
and also smells. I mean, it's like, if people have never smelled sulfur, it is absolutely disgusting. So it's just like, so the smells and the stenches.
Yeah, Crystal Sutherland's evocative writing kind of comes into its own when she's writing body horror, because you really feel it, see it. So I wondered, we all obviously appreciate her writing. What did you think about it specifically in terms of the horror elements, Kirsty? Did you enjoy the horror parts of it? Did it go too far, not far enough? Like, what did you think?
Obviously it was mostly kind of the body horror. There was some, I mean, the demons for me weren't even that horrific when they were kind of described and stuff. So it was that kind of, that personal change and stuff like that. And I can't remember which character it was that said, I can't smell because I've had COVID. And I was like, see, one benefit of COVID would be that you couldn't smell the rotting sulfur of this.
I think it was the horror.
Yeah, but I think it was a subtle horror.
Yeah.
And more as well on the psychological side, in terms of, losing yourself and that sort of stuff, rather than a full-on gore fest, which I probably wouldn't have enjoyed quite so much.
Yeah, I think it was very psychological. I think it was the teeth that got me. Like, I have teeth dreams and anxiety ones. So whenever I'm like a wobbly tooth, I'm like, they're checking all my teeth. Like, I'm in the situation too. So yeah, it definitely was done really well to make you really feel it. And yeah, the sulfur thing, Paula, I was like gipping thinking about that, because we went in a pool once. I think there was like a natural spring that had like a hint of sulfur, and even a hint of it was like eggs.
Rotten eggs.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
The thought of a person smelling like that was just
constantly.
What did you think of the horror part of it, Paul?
I did like the goriness of it and the way it was written. I mean, I'm two things with like body horror. It's like, I'm okay with body horror. It's when it's body horror plus bugs. That I'm just like, nope. So if it's like body horror with like vines or flowers or like or anything like that, I'm okay with it. It's just when it's mixed with bugs, I'm like, nah. But I think it was described really well and just enough. It wasn't too off-putting. If you don't like body horror or gore, I think it was done just right.
Yeah, Yeah, and I think that it kind of eased you into it as well. Like, it didn't come in with the really hardcore stuff. I think once you'd got a little bit of like the invocations and how they worked, if you didn't like it and you kind of tapped out at that point, you'd not got to the worst of it. I like the fact that with horror, I think YA horror particularly, it's good to ease the audience in. I think adult horror quite often comes in hard and fast, and then you have like 5 chapters of, you know, back down, like watching a Scream film. You see the kill at the beginning and then 20 minutes of nothing. I think for YA, it's quite good in this case to do it the other way around. It just eased me in, so that by the time I got to the Pussville basement, I was kind of attuned to the world.
I mean, it helps me that I don't have a visual imagination.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just read words. So that's fine. If I was seeing it as a movie as I was reading, then it might have been a little bit more disturbing.
I really don't know. People always ask me that, like, do I get the movie thing? I don't really know. I think I get a bit of a mixture. Like, I don't get just words or a really clear, vivid picture. I get some like dreamlike combination of the two, I think.
I can imagine if it's written well, I can imagine what it will be. But with Sharon, I think, like, you know, she reads and she just has the movie of it playing in her head, and I'm just like, that's so cool. But it's like, no, I have to actively imagine it.
Somebody remind me, because my brain is going blank. Bathtub.
When Jude is having her bath, and because she's like all like
near the beginning.
The beginning where like, you know, the water's all black and gross and stuff, and like she gets out of the bathtub and the water turns crystal clear again, because it's like whatever is around her and stuff, and what she touches like turns to like rot and festering nasty stuff.
Yeah, that was
quite clever.
Yeah, that reminded me of The Reluctant Immortals. One of the characters, without spoiling it too much, has a similar trait that things.
Love that book.
Yeah, and I like a bit of decay. It thing really well, doesn't it? Give me a bit of decay and some fun spitting out of people. Yes, juicy is a good word. That is
literally.
Have you read House of Hollow, Sharon? Because I think you'd really enjoy that if you haven't. Yeah, agreed. It definitely doesn't kind of make me want to do a demon bargain. Not that I did before this, but I like what Kirsty said. It doesn't feel easy or clean or like something appealing. Like, you know, some books like make it sound like it would be a fun thing to have and not enough for cost. Like, say, being a vampire a lot of the time and stuff, it's just like, you just have to bite someone. Fine, make me a vampire. It's like a real cost. It's really interesting.
I did put a note in my thing with like Jude, where everything around her like rots and decays over time, and she has all these books and things, and it's like when Zara was like going for the book and it was all rotten and disgusting, I was just like, dude, if you know things around you rot, yeah. Exactly.
It was this book, wasn't it, that rotted?
Yeah. I was like,
and I was like, don't rot this copy.
If you know things around you rot, keep them in a different place. It's not like you don't have the money to get a storage place. I was like, the books. That was one of the most horrific things.
Yeah, stay in the beautiful Gothic mansion full of nice possessions. Yeah, stay in like a cardboard box apartment away from other people.
Yeah, I love that.
And just live in one of them or something.
What do a load of bookworms find most horrifying in a book with features loads of body horror? The books are damaged.
Don't destroy the books.
I did feel really sad for Zara as well, because it wasn't just it's a book. It was like really early on. There would have been no book at the end of it, would there? We'd have skipped quite a lot of the stuff she had to go through to get there, but it was so sad when she thought that all the answers could have been there and they were just like crumbling in her hands. I think this book really made me feel stuff.
Yeah. And then when Jude's dad turned up to invite her to the wedding, and he didn't comment at all on this rotted house around her, and you're like, okay.
that was one of the things that tipped me off, to be honest. I was like, well, clearly he feels that, I felt like he must have had some dealings with the occult and things, because it's like he didn't bat an eyelid. I think it felt like the most shocking thing with his relationship with Jude was that he was like, oh my god, she's not girly, she's, you know, she's wanting to be like, you know, look like not necessarily a man, but like, you know, non-binary. She doesn't want to be put in the girly girl box. And I think that was like the most shocking thing for her father in my terms. So it's like, okay, so he's okay with like the space that he's like, you know thing, just being an absolute fetid mess. So that's one of the things that was like, okay, well, he definitely has dealings with the occult, and he knows something. And that's why I was like, is it the dad? It's too obvious to be.
Because he's quite complex, isn't he? Because I was just thinking in my head, is he a baddie though? But yeah, he knew all of what was going on from the sound of it. He just wanted to keep marrying a string of young ladies the age of his young daughters.
Yeah. And I was like, he's solely focused on his image, and it's like he wants Jude there just so the cameras don't say anything. And then when he ends up attacking her at the wedding, when he's just like, okay, you've now leave. And I was like, oh my god, he really is a dick. And then I had the light bulb moment of like, or is he actually just trying to protect her and get her out of this house? And then, like, you know, next chapter, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
But there was the line, wasn't there, about when she went back to the house and all the family were there, and they kind of said, oh, you know, he's married another 22-year-old who's pregnant with twins, and he now thinks he can retire and have the family he'd never had. And you're like, you've got all these kids, you douche canoe. That's my favorite word at the moment. Douche canoe. So yeah,
I mean, and I think I'd decided he wasn't the killer, and he wasn't like that kind of over like killing people bad guy, but still one of the worst characters in the book by quite a shot. Let's see what the people in the comments saying. Yeah, I can imagine. I don't think I want to read this book with a movie in my head, Sharon. I'll be honest, I quite like the fact that my brain faded to grey for some of this.
It would make a good movie, though.
Yeah, it would. Just maybe tone some of it down slightly, just for all of us.
I think this one and House of Hollow would be fab, directed by Guillermo del Toro.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I think he would do that. Yeah, that atmosphere really well.
Yeah.
See, this is, even though I own Crystal Sutherland's other books, this is the first one I've actually read. So it's definitely spurring me on to read like Houses of Hollow and is it Our Chemical Hearts?
Yeah. I think that was quite different, isn't it? Have you read that? Yeah.
It's more of a standard YA contemporary.
Yeah.
So whereas House of Hollow is, I would say, almost magical realism / horror.
Yeah.
That's why I've not got to it, because me and magical realism are kind of like hit or miss.
But if you like the atmosphere in this, I think you would still like it though.
And I think when I got House of Hollow, I think I'd just finished, or like, you know, it was around the time when the Rory Powers book Wilder Girls had come out, and I'd just read that, and it was just like, didn't really love that one, so I was like, I'll give this one a miss.
Similar, aren't they?
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, peeling girl versus girl with stuff growing out of her. So,
yeah. Well, I've just re-listened to Teeth in the Mist by Dawn Kurtagich, ready for Blood on the Wind when it arrives. Hasn't yet. Stupid bank holiday weekend. And again, I thought that had similar vibes to this book as well. If this had been set on a mountain, like in a mountain in Wales, then it would have been the same. But it was interesting that it was set more in a urban setting. So.
Yeah, it was actually. I think stuff like that often is quite remote, isn't it? And able to play out in like some crumbling manner. It was quite cool to see the carnage of it happening in a city. Yeah, I do find that so interesting. At some point, I'm going to like properly drill down what other people actually see, because I still haven't figured it out for myself properly. Hi, Shelley. I know Shelley's just jumped off her Point Horror Book Club. I thought you would have read it, Shelley. Tends to have read all the good stuff. Again, I'm out of sync, so I'm not sure. Oh, was it about the dad
being not batting an eyelid at the decaying house? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe this is why you don't, Sharon, because you've just constantly had this imagery. So like nothing your own brain could conjure maybe wouldn't be as bad as that. I don't know. Yeah, it's great. Sharon can just watch the horror movies of every book that she's reading. Oh yeah, it's not fake.
Yes. Yeah, there's lots of really subtle clues that I think a reread.
Sorry, I was just like thinking that we just need to get Guillermo del Toro on board, and that's all.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to just check my questions. I feel like we've kind of covered most of it. I think we've just got one more question before we go to recommendations. So did you have a favourite part of the book? I've already said that the ending, I thought that final sequence and then the final note it ended on, I just loved all of that. There wasn't really any of it where, I think the reveals, because I'd guessed some of them, that didn't really affect my enjoyment of it. I just loved the kind of where everything just fell apart really fast. Did you have a favourite bit, Kirsty?
I think I just liked the whole book, but I really enjoyed them, the three of them meeting, and I love when you get that sort of instant connection. It's not necessarily a fun connection because Ima knees her in the festering wound, but it was just really good to see the dynamic between them.
Yeah.
So I think that was the kind of the standout of I'm enjoying this.
Get some like good chills from it. Did you have a favourite bit?
Although I did like when they met, I thought it was funny when Jude was like in the bookstore and it was just like Ima, just the random people in the bookstore, and then said Zara was like, stop asking random people. It's like, well, what should we do? Go to the occult section and see who's skulking around? And like, Ima's like, yes. I saw that play out. I was just like, genius.
Yes, actually, come up here.
Yes, do that. But I think even though the book is dense and quite long, and in some parts you just like, it felt like we got reveals and like there was still like half the book left. I was like, okay, so what are we getting on here? But I think even I liked the ending, not the like, obviously I loved the bad guys getting their comeuppance and all that stuff, but I think the ending where Ima's back in Ireland and those two come out to visit and they actually bring the old cottage like back to life, and they say that like, you okay there? What scared you?
My lodger. You just stood in the doorway. We're talking about a horror book.
Don't scare me like that.
About a man who just appears with me as well.
It's because I've got my headphones on. I didn't hear him coming down the stairs. Sorry.
Just the and then the whole like, the demon bargain of like, well, we're gonna make it so like you make things right, as it were, like, you make this coven and you like, rebuild kind of thing. I thought that was like really good.
Yes, it was, and it tied in nicely with why Ima got to survive, like, and other people didn't. So I didn't know if she was going to be a sacrifice at some point. So I was like, no, don't do this to us. And luckily not. I mean, this is the dichotomy of the people in our discussions. I love this. So the epilogue made Kate quite happy, and Sharon enjoyed the bloodbath. But yeah, the banter and the sweet ending. Agreed, Sharon.
Yeah, we like the horror. We like people getting the comeuppance, but we want a happy ending, really, at the end of it, don't we?
But very complex girlies.
Yeah. This is what this book's about. Kev's put a nice reminder on. It says Amy, but it's really Kev. That we're chatting about over emotional next month. Yes, next month. It is April tomorrow. I just had to figure out where it was for a minute. And if you've already read Over Emotional, Overthinking, it came out last week, I think it was, which is the sequel. So what I'm going to do is do the chat about Over Emotional, but if you want to read Overthinking kind of alongside us, that is cool too. Yeah, I mean, that's what horror's all about, isn't it? Heart racing.
Yeah.
Oh, Sharon. Well, isn't that the beauty with books? If I read a book with an unhappy ending, I'd probably be deeply unhappy, whereas Sharon would be there like, oh, yes, this is what I wanted.
Well, I think this book did a great thing of like, you got both. You got the bloodbath, you got the gore, and you also got the happy ending. So it's like it was a nice thing. And I did like that the demons that she just like go clean up, and they didn't have to do any of that. The demons just like, all right then, blood, nom nom nom.
Nom nom nom.
Apparently the answer is not like stain remover, it is just get a demon.
Get a demon.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'll remember that handy cleaning tip for the future. Should anyone bleed on my rugs?
See, I think I would have been more freaked out if the demons looked like cats and then they were licking up the blood. And then I'd be like, oh god. Because then you think real life cats would do. I'm sure they would do things like that, to be fair. But
that would be creepy, actually, because like you wouldn't know if you were dealing with a demon or a real cat until it did something demonic.
Yeah.
Eyes gleam and it starts licking, your bloody wounds.
Which reminds me of the cat from like Miss Marvel, the alien cat, where it's just like, have you seen it where it's just like the cat and then obviously all the tentacles come out. It's like, oh, okay. Right.
So, last question. Can you recommend any books? I'm going to jump in, I'm afraid, and possibly steal your answer. Sorry about that. My progress.
Go on then. Steal my answer.
House of Hollow, yes, absolutely. And Laura Stevens books. If you want angry girls and body horror and kind of dealing with some of the similar themes of like what it means to be a woman and the things that people are afraid of, I think Laura Stevens, again, like Crystal Sutherland, she's had a bit of a change direction. Certainly her most recent two, Society of Soulless Girls and Every Exquisite Thing, I'd definitely recommend.
Yeah, there was definitely some parallels with Every Exquisite Thing in this one, I think, in terms of that, like Jude feeling the hunger, not being able to satisfy it and stuff like that. So the two that I picked up are Mark of the Wicked, by George Bowers, which I know you've mentioned before. And I haven't actually read this one, but I know I've mentioned Rachel Griffin before, and Wild as the Witch kind of struck me as, because Nature of Witches kind of gave the same lyrically type vibes, but it's, I would say, probably a lot more gentle. It's less horror-y, whereas this one sounds a little bit more revengey. So, maybe try this one.
Excellent. Yeah, I didn't finish Nature of Witches. I think I got an early copy of it or something, or had it on NetGalley. And I started it, and I could just tell it wasn't my vibe, where it sounded like it. But yeah, I think maybe the more of the horror and vengeful would have probably been more my thing. No, great. Thanks, Kirsty. Paula, did you think of any that you already said?
Not so much horror ones, but like witchy ones, where I think A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. I think it's like complex, but like interesting, like magic system. It's really all well thought out and well done, and obviously you get that Victorian vibe from it as well, like the gothic kind of stuff. So yes, I'd say that series.
Yes, I listened to the audiobook of that a few years ago and really enjoyed it. I need to listen to the others as well. Yeah, I mean, it's a good way to raise funds for the like witchy girl army, Sharon. Like, get the demons on a sideline of that. Oh, Goose was the cat name, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Cat called Goose, got it. I think that's it then. Thank you so much, you two, for chatting. I knew that it would be an interesting discussion about this book. There's lots to say, and always lovely to talk to you both. Thank you, everybody in the comments who has contributed. It does make for a lovely community chat. I hope some people will join in next month with the read. And as Kev has handily put that, if you want to set a reminder, that is when we're doing the live show. So you've got time to grab a copy and read along with us. I think that's about it for me. So thanks, everyone. I'm going to go do some writing. So I'm going to catch up with you all soon.
Thank you. Bye. Nice to see you both. Bye.